Hi everyone, here is my data analysis. I'm using the program Reflex, which is designed to help students become fluent in both addition and subtraction and multiplication and division facts. The first part of the data that I looked at was my whole class. And their different averages. So as you log into Reflex, this pops up for your class. So as you can see, for the fluency gain that my students have had since the beginning of the year is 30.4 facts per student. And that's the average of new math facts that they've mastered. The usage is 7.6 days, and that's just the average number of days of usage per student for the school year. And then their green light days that's the class average number of days of usage per student this school year. The green light serves two different purposes. The one is students need to have a green light day, or the green light needs to turn on before they are able to go to the shop and spend their tokens or spend time on non-instructional activities. And then two, it also is an indication that a reflex session is complete. So students can practice and continue to practice after they've made that daily requirement, or they can stop. So that is just some data for my whole class. For my individual student data, this is really great because it comes up and it shows you the initial assessment, which is the first part of Reflex. It shows you how much the percentage of fluency that they have, their fluency gains for the week, how much they've used it, and then also their last login. So I use this during my guided math stations, and as you can see, some of my students are slacking a little bit in logging into Reflex. So while I was analyzing this data, it showed me that 7 out of 17 of my students have completed their initial assessment, which means that they can move on and they're playing the other games and things like that. 10 out of 17 still need to finish their initial assignment or assessment, which was a little eye-opening to me that those students really need to log in and they need to be practicing. As you can see in the middle here, for the fact fluency percentage, none of my students are at the proficiency level that we want them to be for fourth grade. So when we give them timed fluency tests, we want them to be at 70%. That is our proficiency. Now that is only multiplication or only division, whereas this program gives them both, which is why they're probably less. So the fluency gain over here in green indicates how many facts students have gained fluency in the last 7 days. So as you can see, some of my students up here have not shown any fluency, whereas some of them down below, they've logged in a little bit more. They're finished with their initial assessment. They have facts in green that they've mastered. One of my students have had a green light day. So when I was looking at the data for my student who had the green light day, it took her 20 minutes to get there. So this is more teacher information for me because it shows that she needed about 20 minutes to get that green light. So if I want to see more of my students getting more green light days, I need to make sure that I'm allowing them an ample amount of time to practice and use the program. And then the columns over here just show when my students have last logged in. Looking at more individual student data, you'll see this is where they started when we first started Reflex in the beginning of the year. You can see that they started with a lot of unassigned facts or facts that were not fluent. Some of the reasons that could be they're not fluent is that the summer slide, it was early in the school year. They were just learning how to use the program and they were still getting back into the swing of things. And then some of my students have not been in school since the pandemic hit back a year and a half ago in March. So they might not have had fact practice that they were working on in third grade. So I took the data from this slide back when we first started and chose these same students to analyze. So as you can see, they are growing and they have progressed through the program and through the process and gaining mastery in their basic facts. Both of these students are showing that they're building their fact fluency in their zeros, their ones, and then their tens, which we do find are the easiest for them to memorize. More individual student data. This shows that both students are gaining fact fluency in both of their facts. It also shows me how long or the total usage that they have logged in. Obviously, one has logged in more than the other, and they both started at different proficiency levels. Looking at this data, it's clear that both students need to make sure that they are logging on daily because down here, obviously, it's showing they have only logged in one day. Another piece or chart of data that this program shows me that I was able to analyze is this individual student is showing a lot of growth. However, when I was analyzing this, I was able to look at the time again that it takes for them to reach these green light days, which is what we want for the program, and it's taking them about 20 minutes, even though they're showing growth and they are getting a lot of those facts to be fluent. It is taking them a while to get to that point. So as I'm reflecting on this program and looking at the data, I'm realizing that for them to be able to see that success and to have those green light days, they need at least a solid 20 minutes, which my math block does not usually have time for 20 full minutes, but that's something that I might have to change while I'm going through and analyzing this. I might have to change that for them so that they can see success. Then some common themes that the data shows is that students are not mastering their facts where they should know their fact families. If I go back to this slide, you can see that some of them are dark green where others are light green, which means that they're not showing that fact family understanding. They are showing mastery in their zeros, ones, and tens for multiplication. Students are not logging in daily. I use this during my math rotations each day, and students have an independent work that they need to complete first, and then they can go on reflex. So that independent activity might be taking them longer, especially if they're struggling in math to begin with. And then students who are not logging in are just showing me that they don't have enough time. And then students who are using it daily and who are able to log in are building their fact fluency. What does this data say about student learning? The more students are practicing their basic facts using reflex, the more they're building that mastery and fact fluency. They do need to practice daily. Too many of my students are not logging in. What do they say about your teaching? I definitely need to make sure that I'm staying on my students and making sure that they are logging in daily because this is a big part of our 4th grade math curriculum. So I need to make sure that they are having time and that they're able to log in. Students need a review of fact families for sure, because if they are looking at the fact families that they're missing, those are facts that they should know just because we've already covered fact families. And then what would I do differently to improve student performance? Encourage them to really think about their fact families and facts that they know to help them make those connections. Create maybe a competition between classes to help build student engagement. And then lastly, have a weekly printout of the facts that students need to be practicing. It would be the facts that they've not yet mastered to practice during their free time or over the weekend. So this was my data analysis on reflex. Let me know if you have any questions. Thanks.